Coming up on Phillies Nation, sponsored by BQ Basement Systems, Pat and Corey recap the amazing start by Chase Utley. Can it continue? The guys also talk about the offense as a whole and the reason for the early turnaround. I've got the Batters Inbox questions, and Natalie and Ian check in with opening day fun. That's all ahead on Phillies Nation.
Thanks for joining us here on Phillies Nation, presented by BQ Basement Systems. We are here at McStew's in Levittown, PA, just off New Falls Road. Pat Gallen and Corey Seidman with you. Where else should we start besides Chase Utley and one of the hottest starts in all of baseball? The numbers are ridiculous, off the charts, insanely good. Check him out. He's hitting .500 through the first 12 games. 6 doubles, 3 home runs, 10 runs batted in, 5 walks, 2 strikeouts, an OPS of 1440. Chase Utley is doing it in every single way possible. And what's good, he's picking up a huge amount of slack without Ryan Howard hitting. And that's good to see because they need that power in the middle of the order. He's giving it to them. He actually missed 2 games as well, and he was sick throughout the Cubs series. Tony Greene Jr. had this to say, and he was asked about what he thought of Chase Utley before he got here. Tony Greene Jr. says, quote, "He was a baller, and he continues to be a baller." Chase Utley off the charts. It's ridiculous.
And he does it quietly, too. When asked about his hot start, Utley always downplays.
Very superstitious.
Yeah, very superstitious in that regard. But right now, Chase Utley, through his first 10 games, leads all of baseball in batting average, in on-base percentage, in slugging percentage, and by far in wins above replacement. His WAR right now, 1.5, ahead of guys like Mike Trout, Miguel Cabrera. And it's very interesting with Utley because I kind of talked about before the season started that I wasn't sure if he was going to have as much of a powerful season as he has these first 2 weeks. His MVP odds coming into the season weren't even listed. I looked at this the other day. The last NL player listed in terms of MVP odds was Starling Marte of the Pirates at 40-1, which means that Utley was even worse than 40-1. So if you got to bet in on Utley somehow, you're looking good right now.
That's not bad. I know with you, and we talked about this in the first episode, Corey, that you didn't really know what to expect from him. I pretty much thought maybe a 270 type hitter with a little bit of power, 18 to 20 home runs. I wouldn't expect much more than that, but he is blowing away those expectations.
And 270 is an interesting number that you bring up because 270 was the exact over-under on his batting average coming into the season. Now, if you took the over, you're also betting that he's going to play a pretty much full
Stay
season,
healthy.
130 or so games, but Chase Utley looks like the Utley of old right now. The fact that he's moving well, playing solid defense. The defense has been underrated, but he's made a bunch of really good plays at second base these first 2 weeks. But just the power numbers. I mean, I actually tried to look this up. The last player to start by going 20 for 40, as Utley did, with 3 homers and 6 doubles and at least 10 RBIs. And you didn't have to go back too far because it was David Ortiz last season. Another example of a left-handed hitter kind of just rekindling the magic he had earlier in his career, but Utley looks great so far, single-handedly carrying the Phillies right now.
Okay, so now what we should look at is the possibility of Chase Utley maybe being a Hall of Fame second baseman down the road. He's got a ways to go. He's probably going to have to put together a few more very good seasons, but it's a good start.
Yeah, if Utley has 2 or 3 more really good seasons, I think he's legitimately in the conversation. I kind of view him as similarly to Carlos Beltran, a guy who they both have very good playoff numbers, great career stats, and really with Utley the difference is his peak. Because from 2005 to 2009, when he hit something like 315, averages of about 30 homers per year, when you look at the fact that his stolen base percentage is still the greatest in the history of baseball, complete player, one of the best second basemen of all time in his peak, and definitely the best second baseman of this era.
That peak might help too, that 5-6 year stretch that he had that was like Joe Morgan-esque. We'll see if it happens. If it does, great. Chase Utley, if he puts together a couple more seasons like that, certainly does deserve it. Chase Utley, part of this newfound offense. It's like back to the glory years of the Phillies where they're taking walks, they're taking pitches, they're doing it all, and they lead the National League in walks through Sunday, 49 walks, plus pitches per plate appearance is I believe they're 6th right now, which is something that's unforeseen. I mean, they were 14th in walks in the National League last season out of 15 teams. It's just different. They're doing everything differently. Don't stop doing it because it's working.
I don't think anybody saw this coming. No. Maybe some people thought the offense would be good, but not this disciplined. And you look at it up and down the lineup, it's guys that you previously haven't seen this from. Jimmy Rollins has an on-base percentage close to 360, and he's walked 3 more times through his first 10 games than he did last season. Ryan Howard, last week, the first time in his career he had back-to-back games with at least 2 unintentional walks and no strikeouts. That's kind of remarkable that Howard has gone his entire career without having 2 of those games in a row, but it's just up and down the lineup, guys taking pitches. It really seems like they're buying into Ryan Sandberg's mantra of being more prepared for games, being more prepared for pitchers, and just laying off of these sloppy pitches away that maybe in the past they've. And the other thing, too, is that Jimmy's not popping up on the first pitch the way we're so accustomed to. So really good signs here in these first 2 weeks.
Yeah, and their on-base percentage leads the National League, .354, so you can see it right there. They're disciplined, they're taking walks, they're hitting the ball hard, everything just seems to be working offensively. Then comes the question, is it sustainable, though? And with a guy like Chase Utley, of course he's not going to hit 500 for the rest of the season, but if Jimmy can put it together for the duration of the season, if Chase Utley can keep it up at this level or near this level, it could just be good things from here on out.
Yeah, and what's been really promising, too, is that the Phillies have been getting very solid production out of the leadoff spot. Leadoff hitters for the Phillies hitting around .315, really good OBP. You know, Utley's not going to keep it up. He's not going to
he's not going to hit 500.
He's not going to hit 400 or 5. He's going to hit like 320 this season at best, maybe. But what's really interesting about Utley is that this isn't foreign to him. He has these really hot starts. I went back and looked at his previous Aprils. His OPS in previous Aprils is close to 1,000. Not the 1440 it is right now, but among all active major leaguers who have at least 500 career plate appearances in the first month of the season, which really just means have you been around for at least 5 years, Utley ranks #1 in April in OPS.
Let's talk about the weekend as a whole, and they obviously sweep the Marlins after a tough series previously against the Milwaukee Brewers. Maybe the Brewers are just that good. They've gone on a tear themselves, but in that Marlins series, the Phillies did things a number of different ways. They won those 3 games with different players stepping up in just so many different fashions.
That was awesome to see, because on Friday night you beat Jose Fernandez, you scored 6 runs off him in 4 innings.
Everyone's thinking you're not even going to score off this guy.
Absolutely. The Phillies had 1 run off him in 18 innings last year, and they scored 6 in 4 innings. As you said, they won in different ways. They held on. They held on Friday, have the walk-off Saturday. Sunday they come back with Will Nieves' double, Chase Utley's game-winning home run, and Jonathan Papelbon pitches all 3 games of that series, gets the Phillies into extra innings Saturday, saves the other 2 games. So positive signs all around. Really, as you said, the Brewers swept 3 consecutive series, so maybe they are that good, but the Phillies definitely got back on track.
Yeah, and they looked good in that weekend series. Let's see if they can keep it rolling when we come back here on PNTV. We'll hear from Tommy Greene and more coming right back. It's Phillies Nation.
I'm Brian Quinn. I'm the owner of BQ Basement Systems. We've grown to be the leader in the waterproofing industry in the Philadelphia region, and we love our Phillies down here. Our goal is when a customer comes away dealing with us, that customer at the end of the day is going to say yes. I'm Brian Quinn of BQ Basement Systems, and we've been in business since 1997.
McStew's Irish Sports Pub in Levittown is a great place for sports fans. Come out and watch your favorite Philly teams on our 18 high-definition TVs. We've been voted Best of Bucks for our game day atmosphere, our drink specials, and our one-of-a-kind wings. And if you can't stick around, stop by our takeout store to pick up your favorite domestics, imports, and craft beers from all around the world. Visit us at facebook.com/McStews for info on all of our upcoming events. McStew's Irish Sports Pub at Route 413 and New Falls Road.
We're very excited to implement a program called 8 Weeks to Wellness. At Summit Spine and Wellness, we combine chiropractic care, massage therapy, customized nutrition, personal training, and meditation. If you want to improve your health, take the 8 Week to Wellness Challenge like Dan, who lost 32 pounds, 6 inches off his waist, and 94 points off his cholesterol. We use a customized wellness score to measure your health and develop a diet and fitness plan just for you. Call our office at 215-487-2500 and ask about getting set up for your wellness score.
In a world where bankers have lost all interest, where robots and fat cats rule our fortunes, one woman will stand up and strive to do the impossible. Be treated like a person. Friends and neighbors will join her quest. Ordinary people will band together against the forces of corporate greed. And together they will form Philadelphia Federal Credit Union, already in a neighborhood near you.
Hi, I'm Tommy Greene. Today we're going to talk about the difference between the routines of starters and relievers. And in a nutshell, the reliever has to be prepared to pitch every day he comes to the ballpark, unless the manager is purposely giving him a day off. Maybe he's pitched 3 or 4 days in a row, and he needs a day off. The routine as a starter, they can run more. They have to gear themselves for more endurance to pitch. As a starter, you want to pitch 9 innings. They got to gear themselves to pitch that way. So their conditioning will dictate that. More running, more distance running, so to speak. The reliever will do more, so to speak, sprint work. That's what, when I did both, relieving helped me so much. It helped me be more aggressive and pitch more aggressively when I became a starter. When I got the opportunity to be a starter, I used that mentality as a reliever. So, I mean, they work hand in hand. A little bit different between the both of them is that the reliever has to really prepare himself for that night. He can't drown himself out, running too much before a game. He's got to be consistent in his routine and find out what works for him. How much running, how much throwing you do in between the day you throw, and that type of thing. What it takes for you to get loose. And that's the big difference in the relievers and the starters, is knowing your body, what it takes for you to get ready and be prepared to pitch every day if you come to the ballpark.
Thank you, Tommy. We're going to see a lot of Tommy Greene all this season here on Phillies Nation. And from there, we go to a segment, maybe our best segment of all, at least I think so, By the Numbers. And we dig deeper into the numbers. And we talked about Chase Utley, of course, in the opening segment. This is a beauty from Todd Zalecki. He gets this from the Elias Sports Bureau. Chase Utley, 20 for 40. He's the first Phillies player to have a 20 for 40 stretch in a season since the one and only Von Hayes in 1989. He is that good. He's Von Hayes good.
Yeah, like we said, Utley, amazing April. It's not just the 20 for 40, it's that he's doing it with power. Half of those first 20 hits were extra base hits.
Insane, insane. So we just needed to throw that in there because why not? More Chase Utley. It's Utley Nation at this point. Let's go back to that series against the Milwaukee Brewers. The Phillies got a taste of Ryan Braun in that series. He came into the series having no runs batted in. He left with 10. An insane series top to bottom.
Yeah, Phillies fans probably don't want to go back to that Brewers series, but just real quick, Ryan Braun, numbers against the Phillies, ridiculous. 17 homers in his first 46 games against the Phillies. Third fastest player ever to 17 homers against the Phils, behind only Eric Davis and Vladimir Guerrero, two notorious Philly killers. And something else that stood out to me with Ryan Braun is I looked at his numbers against the Braves and the Mets combined. He's played 30 more games against the Braves and Mets combined than he has against the Phillies, and yet he has 7 fewer home runs and just 2 more RBIs in 30 more games. It's just ridiculous.
I don't mean to laugh about that, but that's pretty ridiculous. What a series from Ryan Braun, and what a series from the Brewers overall. Moving on from there, we look at the oldest teams in baseball. I get this a lot of questions of people, are they going to be able to hold up throughout this season? The Phillies, they're so old, the core is really old, and they are, that's true. But they're not the oldest team in baseball. Here's the top 5 oldest teams in the major leagues. The Dodgers are 5th at just under 30. How about the Rays? If I told you the Tampa Bay Rays were about 30 years old on average, what would you say to that?
I would not have guessed that, but they did make a couple veteran additions this year. Heath Bell, for example, so that did increase the age there.
Okay, Phillies are 3rd at 30.3, just behind the Yankees and the Red Sox, the leader in the clubhouse, an average age of 31 years old. Yet those two teams at the top, you expect them to be in it in the AL East.
Well, what is interesting about that list is that 4 of the 5 teams are the top 4 payrolls in all of baseball, and the other team is the Rays, who are either the lowest or second lowest payroll in all of baseball. So very interesting stuff there, but what I will say is that despite the Phillies' collective age, Marlon Byrd sure doesn't look like he's playing like a 36-year-old. Chase Utley doesn't look like he's 35. Okay, they have some guys who have found the fountain of youth here, at least in the first 2 weeks.
All right, if I asked you to guess this question, how many Phillies are 33 or older? What would you say?
Well, I know it's a lot. I would say 9 guys.
11 players are 33 or older. Roberto Hernandez, we forget about, he's 33 years old. A.J. Burnett is the oldest on this roster at 37 years old. So we go from old guys to guys that we think are pretty good. And that's Fantasy Baseball, brought to you by DraftStreet.com, the future of fantasy sports, free one-day leagues where you can win cash prizes. Let's start with last week first. You picked a guy, I picked a guy. Who was yours?
I said Grady Sizemore. I love the fact that he's batting either 1st or 5th in a potent Red Sox lineup. Last week hit .429, couple of doubles, homer, 3 RBIs. Definitely made you look good if you picked him up last week.
And if you listened to me, I apologize. I picked James Paxton from the Seattle Mariners, and he went on the DL with a lat strain. But in his first 5 starts, he was 4-0 with an ERA near 1, so it's not my fault. I'm sorry. Let's go to this week's players that stand out to us, and we start with Freddie Freeman, who we see here with the Braves in town. Hit .289 against the Phillies last year, sort of unassuming. We know he's a really good player. How about this year? He's the only guy that's in the same atmosphere as Chase Utley right now. Through the first 2 weeks, a .442 average, 4 home runs, 10 runs batted in, a 1333 OPS. Of course, you're going to want to play Freddie Freeman, but we wanted to highlight him because he doesn't have a day off until next Thursday.
And he's quickly becoming one of the best first basemen in baseball. He signed that 8-year, $120 million extension. Right now, that's looking great for the Braves.
And Rajay Davis, how about him? He's only owned in 15% of ESPN leagues. Good source of steals, you might be able to pick him up.
And he's leading off in a Tigers lineup that also has Ian Kinsler and Miguel Cabrera and Torrey Hunter. So yeah, he's going to score a ton of runs.
And who's the last guy from you?
I have 2 guys. I'm going Alfredo Simon, pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds, kind of flies under the radar, but he's allowed 2 earned runs in 15 innings in his first 2 starts, and he's going up against a Pirates team this week that is not really hitting. And my second guy is Jimmy Rollins, because Jimmy's not owned in a whole lot of leagues. He's kind of one of the forgotten shortstop, a guy like Jimmy Rollins and Derek Jeter getting up there in years and no longer really fantasy relevant in most leagues, but Jimmy's off to a great start, taking pitches, 2 homers and 10 RBIs through his first 10 games. You could do worse than Jimmy.
That's it for Fantasy Baseball, brought to you by DraftStreet.com. The future of fantasy sports. Visit DraftStreet.com. Use the promo code PhilliesNation to sign up for a free 1-day fantasy league where you can win real cash prizes. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back on Phillies Nation.
At Village Catering, we're committed to making your event one to remember. We are family owned and operated, and for more than 30 years, we've made our mark on Philadelphia as a go-to caterer for all of your special events. We're also the official caterer of the Flyers and Soul and the preferred caterer of Temple Athletics. We'll work with you at customizing your off-site event, or you can have your event at our on-site facility, the Cottage Green, so that you'll feel like a guest at your own party. Contact us at 215-698-1117 or villagecatering.com, and we'll help you make a memory today.
McStew's Irish Sports Pub in Levittown is a great place for sports fans. Come out and watch your favorite Philly teams on our 18 high-definition TVs. We've been voted best of Bucks for our game day atmosphere, our drink specials, and our one-of-a-kind wings. And if you can't stick around, stop by our takeout store to pick up your favorite domestics, imports, and craft beers from all around the world. Visit us at facebook.com/McStews for info on all of our upcoming events. McStew's Irish Sports Pub at Route 413 and New Falls Road.
I'm Brian Quinn. I'm the owner of BQ Basement Systems. We've grown to be the leader in the waterproofing industry in the Philadelphia region, and we love our Phillies down here. Our goal is when a customer comes away dealing with us, that customer at the end of the day is going to say, wow. I'm Brian Quinn of BQ Basement Systems, and we've been in business since 1997.
Welcome back to Phillies Nation TV. I'm Ryan Williams here with Pat and Corey for our Batter's Inbox, where Pat and Corey go head-to-head, and I'll be the judge of the answer. Let's get started, guys. Can Mike Adams be effective as a late-inning reliever, topping out at 90 miles per hour? Corey?
No, he can't. Maybe he can if he's topping out at 90 miles per hour, but the reports early have been that he's throwing 86 to 88, and if he's throwing 86 to 88, that means his cutter's going to be in the low 80s, and I don't know he can be an effective major league pitcher. Just a couple years ago, his average fastball was 93. So if he's not the same guy, he's not going to have the same success in the 8th inning.
Well, this is weird. I disagree because I think Mike Adams is out to prove something. He has said in the past that he doesn't want to be known as the guy that just took the money and ran. 2 years, $12 million. He's owed $6 million this season. He's going to want to prove something to everyone that he's still got something left in the tank. If he can hit 90 consistently, that's a big number because, as Corey said, yeah, if he's hitting 85 or 86, it's completely worthless at that point. And as an 8th inning guy, you just can't do that. So I say yes, he still has something left to give. I wouldn't say throw him 4 or 5 days in a row. He's just not that pitcher anymore. But if he can give you back-to-back days, giving me 90 miles an hour, I want it from Mike Adams. I think he's still got it.
I'm going to have to go with Pat on that one. And I hope he has a turnaround season from last year.
Good start.
Our next question is, which Phillies bench player has been the most important? Pat?
It's a guy that hasn't even played yet, and that's Darren Ruff. He's going to be so important once he comes off the disabled list because I see a bit of a platoon with Ryan Howard. It's not going to be a straight-up platoon because they're going to want to give Ryan Howard more at-bats, but against a tough left-handed pitcher, how important is Darren Ruff's power going to be? And even in late-inning situations, you can just tell they don't have that power bat that they need. Darren Ruff is that guy, so I see him, when healthy, coming back from that oblique injury, playing in a good amount of games because he's Ryan Sandberg's boy. He's going to want to get him in there. It's Darren Ruff for sure.
Yeah, I know. Darren Ruff does have the power that the Phillies bench is sorely lacking right now, but I think the most important guy is Tony Gwynn Jr. And I didn't think I would be saying that 2 weeks into the season, but the fact that he gives you versatility, can play all three outfield spots, better defensive center fielder than your boy John Mayberry, okay? And Tony Gwynn Jr. is a very disciplined hitter. He walked 7 times in the spring, a couple walks already this season. OBP is above 400, and going forward here, if he and Ben Revere can make things work at the top of the order the way they've done, hitting .315 out of the leadoff spot, Tony Gwynn Jr. is going to be a valuable Philly.
I would say this too, that Freddie Galvis is pretty important because he can play all infield positions, and you never know. These guys are older. We talked about it earlier in the show, but I'm sticking with Darren Ruff.
Well, I'm going to have to go with Corey on that answer. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Gwynn so far this season. Okay. Our next question is, who do you think is the favorite to win the NL and the AL? Pat?
Well, I think that St. Louis is going to be the team to beat again in the National League. I just love what they do top to bottom in that order. Molina, Carpenter, Matt Adams. It's all these guys just come out of nowhere and they continue to produce. And they've got a pretty good pitching staff starting at the top, obviously with Adam Wainwright. So until further notice, it's the Cardinals in the National League. In the American League, I actually picked the Tampa Bay Rays to win, and I don't like that pick so much anymore because they lost 2 of their top 3 pitchers. Matt Moore is pretty much going to miss the rest of the season. He's going to have elbow surgery. Alex Cobb is on the DL as well, so that's a huge hit to a Rays team that, if healthy, I thought was going to win close to 95 games. I don't think so anymore, so my answer then, the Boston Red Sox. Same as last year, but until further notice, it's those 2 teams.
I agree. I'm going Cardinals just because, first off, Yadier Molina, one of the 5 best players in baseball, perpetually underrated. But what impresses me the most about St. Louis is the bullpen. They have 3 or 4 guys in the back end of that bullpen that throw 93, 94, 95 miles an hour plus. So they definitely have the tools to win those close, late one-run games. Over in the AL, I'm going the Tigers. I think they are the most complete team in baseball. Got more athletic this offseason. Signed Rajay Davis, brought in Ian Kinsler. Not as plotting of a team, still have some power in the lineup. And the starting rotation is as good as it gets in the AL. So I have Cardinals, Tigers.
Well, I'm going to go with both of you guys on the NL.
Can you each get a point?
Yeah,
right.
We can do it that way,
All
but
right,
I'm going to have to go with Corey with the Tigers again.
So I do win this question then? To be
Yes,
sure?
you do.
Okay.
All right.
Our last question is, what are your thoughts on instant replay thus far? Pat?
I don't like it. I don't think a lot of people like it. If you saw on Sunday Night Baseball, John Farrell, the manager of the Boston Red Sox, got tossed even after a replay because things are bubbling. They're coming to a head right now. It's just not working. I do enjoy the replay aspect because they have all this technology. Why not get the question right? So the problem really is when the manager comes out and doesn't argue, but he takes that slow walk to the umpire and then looks back to his dugout to see if his bench coach is on the phone. What's going on upstairs? I was saying this, Larry Bowa may as well have a goofy headset on, like a telemarketer, just so he can patch himself in to see if the call is right. It's absolutely ridiculous how long it's taking. These games are already taking too long, so that's really the reason. So it's bad. I think you would agree it's bad, but the reason that it's bad is because of that, the manager walking slowly out to the umpire and it taking way too long.
The process is flawed. It's year 1, so you're going to have to work out the kinks. But, I was all in favor of replay, but I'm not in favor of what I've seen these first couple weeks. To me, the main issue is that it takes a pitcher out of his rhythm. I was watching a Blue Jays-Yankees game a couple weeks ago where Dustin McGowan's on the mound for the Blue Jays, thinks he gets the 3rd out in the inning, turns out not to be the 3rd out, proceeds to give up a 2-run double, things fall apart, he ends up leaving the game. It's just, if you're going to have this process, look up at the Jumbotron, make a call quickly, and let the pitcher keep pitching.
Well, I'm going to have to go with Pat on that answer.
All right.
Sorry, Corey.
Nice.
Well, that wraps up our Batters Inbox questions. Make sure you leave them for us on our Facebook and Twitter page. Stay tuned for more Phillies news.
In a world where bankers have lost all interest, where robots and fat cats rule our fortunes, one woman will stand up and strive to do the impossible. Be treated like a person. Friends and neighbors will join her quest. Ordinary people will band together against the forces of corporate greed. And together they will form Philadelphia Federal Credit Union, already in a neighborhood near you.
I'm Brian Quinn. I'm the owner of BQ Basement Systems. We've grown to be the leader in the waterproofing industry in the Philadelphia region, and we love our Phillies down here. Our goal is when a customer comes away dealing with us, that customer at the end of the day is going to say yes. I'm Brian Quinn of BQ Basement Systems, and we've been in business since 1997.
We're very excited to implement a program called 8 Weeks to Wellness. At Summit Spine and Wellness, we combine chiropractic care, massage therapy, customized nutrition, personal training, and meditation. If you want to improve your health, take the 8-Week to Wellness Challenge like Dan, who lost 32 pounds, 6 inches off his waist, and 94 points off his cholesterol. We use a customized wellness score to measure your health and develop a diet and fitness plan just for you. Call our office at 215-487-2500 and ask about getting set up for your wellness score.
Hey Phillies Nation, it's Natalie Aganoff.
And I'm Ian Riccaboni.
And we're down here at Citizens Bank Park in the parking lots for the season home opener. We're gonna head out to the tailgate, see what people are cooking up, what games they're playing.
Then we're gonna do some fun stuff at the block party where there's men in soft pretzel outfits, the Fanatic, and Natalie and I might even zip line. So let's go check it out.
My 7th or 8th in a row opening day. We've got good weather. Hopefully we see a win today with the Phillies.
It's awesome. I love the baseball season. Everybody out, barbecuing, tailgating, and
Christmas
the game.
Day all over again.
This is my Christmas Day.
I've come a couple of times and it's always a good time.
It's actually it's more of a red beans and rice, bacon, andouille sausage, red beans. We had a brunch option, a quiche with asparagus and bacon. We decided to kick it up a little bit and have a good time today.
Look like fun, as always, at the Phillies Nation tailgate on opening day. Ian on the zip line, would you do that?
I don't know.
No, you're not a zip line looking guy. Down on the farm, let's go down there and see what Kenny Giles is up to. They're, of course, calling him 100 Miles Giles because of that 100-mile-per-hour fastball.
We talked earlier in the show about, is Giles going to make it up to the Phillies halfway through the season here? I think the Phillies might have him on some kind of program. They want him to close out a certain amount of games before he eventually gets a call-up because, look, 2 years from now, he might be your closer. No point in rushing him the way the Tigers did with Bruce Rondon a couple years ago. Their version of Giles throws 100. He's had a couple injuries, hasn't really made it yet.
Don't want to rush the guy, but at some point, you got to bring the 100-mile-an-hour heat up here. Also, Jesse Biddle on Sunday, better, still not that good. 4 innings, 3 runs. None of them were earned, but he walked 2, struck out 6, 76 pitches, 48 for strikes. Still relatively inconsistent. Michael Franco, not good at all. He started 4 for 41 with only 1 extra base hit in his first 11 games.
It's been a very rough start for Michael Franco. Wasn't hitting in Clearwater when he was with the Phillies in spring training. The ball just was not coming off his bat. Maybe he was pressing a little bit, little nerves there, but certainly hasn't looked like the player he was last season with the Phillies. But it's probably just a cold start. If this happened in the middle of June, maybe we don't even notice it.
And Philippe Almont, not so good either. 4 1/3 innings through Sunday. He's walked 5 batters.
And 4 of those 5 walks came consecutively in an outing last week. So Almont still hasn't been able to figure out the control issues. He hasn't been able to figure out how to make his throwing motion the same pitch to pitch.
Now it's time for this week's Twitter trivia. Of course, you can win great prizes if you get the question correct. Last week's question was, name all 9 starting right fielders on last year's Phillies team. John from Philadelphia was last week's winner. This week's question is this. Ryan Braun had 3 home runs and 7 RBIs last Tuesday. Name the 3 other players who have hit 3 home runs or more and had 7 RBIs or more in a game against the Phillies since 2000. Can you do it?
I can name 1 off the top of my head, but that's a great question.
No, don't do it. You've got to do it at Twitter. #PNTrivia @PhilliesNation. That's it for us. It's Phillies Nation, another one in the books, brought to you by BQ Basement Systems. Of course, they're your source for helping out all that water in your basement. You got to get rid of it, so call BQ. Also, McStew's here in Levittown, just off New Falls Road. Stop by, have a cold one. Pat Gallen, Corey Simon, thank you to everyone involved in this great program. Ryan, Natalie, Ian on the zip line. That's it for PNTV. We'll talk to you next week.